Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a review of the Marie's oil-based coloring pencils, the 120 set from China. My name is Katja, I'm CatColouring. Grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or a mug of tea and let's take a closer look to these Marie's oil-based coloring pencils and test them in different books on different paper to try and find out how good they actually are and if they are worth the buy from Temu. Okay, I have already shown you this in my winter art haul, but let's take a closer look. So the coloring pencils here are in a tin box, a red tin box, with some animals here on the front, and then we can see some of the coloring pencils here. And I have already translated this from Cantonese, and it basically says the same thing. Marie's, since 1919, oil-based coloring pencil, 120 oily coloring pencils, and again 120 colors, oil-based colored pencil, oil-based coloring pencils, and the same here. And then something about the high quality and lead and good colors and stuff on the back. Again, 120 oil-based coloring pencils. Down here we find a warning that children under 3 should of course not be allowed, and that you have to be careful with children up to the age of 14 with these coloring pencils. Again, we have a QR code, and then it all says here, Shanghai Marie painting materials. The address is down here, and again it's repeated up here and here and here. So we have a lot of repetition, and we don't know a lot about the coloring pencils other than this is a 120 set. They are oil-based. We have, 120 colors to choose from. And here, luckily, we have all of the color names down here, the numbers here, and these are the color names. So by translating these, I can find out exactly what colors we have here. So of course, I will do that, but let's open it. So it's a fixed lid here on the tin box, and then it's very easy to remove the trays. They are in a plastic tray, as you can see here, in 3 layers, but you can fairly easily remove them. Of course, you have to be careful not to drop them. But you can see here from the coloring pencils, we have the black down here, and then we have some, really looks like some skin tones here. We have all of the browns. They are in quite a different order than normal coloring pencils, where we usually end up with the gray colors and then the black. So it's sort of a funny order, the line, where we have skin tones before the black, and then we have some of the ochre tones here, red, brownish, brown, and then again some lighter brown colors, perhaps even olive is a guess, because again I haven't translated the color name, so I don't know what colors we have here. Then we suddenly have a lot of dark, really dark colors here. It looks like some dark purple colors, perhaps some dark browns. Then we have what also looks like a very dark violet, to me a dark blue. Then we have some more grayish colors before the teal colors, and all of the green colors come here in this tray. So here we have some of the light green colors. We move on to more teal and turquoise colors, light blue colors, and certainly a lot of different dark blue colors until we hit the violet colors here. And then we move on to the top tray, where we again find some violet lilac colors. Then we move on to the more purple tones, and we have a lot of pink colors here. We have some darker red and what should be red colors, and orange, perhaps even peachy, and yellow colors before we hit the white here. So there is certainly a lot of different colors, and exactly the colors you would expect to find in a 120 set. So if we take it up here, you can see that we do have some differences between the tips. They are what I would call a little bit, not completely sharpened, but a little bit blunt here in the end. You can see here that we have a printing here. It says oil, just to make sure that we know this is oil-based. so more oil than wax in these. Then we have a number here, HSD003. I don't know what this number stands for, because we can see here it says 018. So I'm guessing that this is a real color number 018. We have the brand here, name Marius, and then we have something here in Chinese. I would assume it says something about a coloring pencil and then perhaps the name here. But as I said, at the back of this tin box, the names I have checked. So I will, of course, check the numbers and the names, and then we can look at this. If you're interested in my swatch chart, it's available in my coffee shop. With all of the numbers and the real color names in English. So if you have these pencils, or you want to buy them and you want some help decoding which colors they really are, then check out my coffee shop, because when this review hits YouTube, it's available in my coffee shop already. Okay, so I will just sharpen these, and let's get right to the swatching, and I will select a number of different coloring books, including some of the Japanese coloring books I have, because the paper there is specifically meant for oil-based pencils, and since these are marketed as an oil-based pencil, I think that we should check them on both paper suitable for wax-based, but especially oil-based pencils, to really get a good look into what these pencils are capable of in terms of layering and blending and the color intensity here. So I will make the swatch chart and a swatch, and then let's look at the colors here. It has taken me hours and hours and hours of work to do this swatch chart here, because first I translated, and then I got like 3 different sorts of light blue and 2 and 3 different kinds of pink. And, you know, the color names weren't really suitable. This color, for example, was translated as a light lotus green. And I think, well, you can all see it's a violet color, so it's certainly not green. So I used a lot of time translating these color names, and some of the color names I have changed just a little bit to better match the color that we are talking about. And I have come up with this color chart. So you can see here that we go from the yellow colors over some ochre colors and skin tones to orange and red colors. We have some pink colors and dark reds, or pink carmines here, and then we have some more normal pink colors, and then we turn to the more purple and violet colors. We have a lot of blue colors, and as I said, 3 of them were all called light blue, and that was called light blue, and this was called light blue, and this was called light blue. And I mean, you can clearly see the difference between these 3 colors. So I had to just, change them a little bit. And we have all of the teal colors here, teal or turquoise, and then we have the green colors before we end up with the reddish brown, the warm gray, and the cool gray. And then we have some green gray, slate gray, purple gray, or onyx. This could also be called onyx because it is in some other coloring brand sets. And then the black. So this really took forever, but you can get this color chart in my coffee shop if you want to. So you can see by the colors that I have swatched them, and I have to say that I think that they look quite bright and pigmented, and they were very easy to apply on the paper, and the pencil felt really nice in my hand when I held the pencil. So they were all easy to sharpen, but I just have to say, and I will just open this one, because the very first tray here will show you. You can also see I have changed completely the way the pencils are, because now they are in the order they really should be, depending on the different sorts of colors and color families. So you can see with this pencil, it's way shorter than the other. It was very easy to sharpen them. I used my electric Derwent sharpener for half of them, and the rest I sharpened in my Dali 133, just to try different sharpeners. And every pencil except this one work nicely. So I have a sneaking suspicion that this particular pencil, there's something wrong with the lead because it just kept breaking, and the other pencils did not break, and there were not even a hint of them trying to break at all. So I think that this particular lead in this pencil here is not quite as sturdy as the others. You can also see here, I hope you can see it, that there is something wrong with the lead. When I have sharpened it, it's like something is missing here. There's a chip of the lead here which has just broken off. So in all pencil sets, there can sometimes be something wrong with one or two of the pencils, and this does not necessarily mean that there is something wrong with the entire set. So I did not have any trouble, as I said, with swatching, sharpening the others, or swatching them for that matter. There was some pencil dust, of course, when I swatched them, but this is cheap printing paper, and there is also always pencil dust when I swatch other brands. Even if I use Prismacolors on this, they will also dust. But you can see here some really, really nice, bright, pigmented colors here. So I really think that I have, as far as pigment goes, got the money's worth with these Maria's colored pencils. So now it's time to try them out in different coloring books and see how they layer and blend together, and how they, well, overall work on different sorts of paper. So let's begin with that. We will begin with Den Magiske Jungle, Magical Jungle by Johanna Basford, because the paper here is quite smooth. So I would really like to try them on this page, my color test page here. And since it's leaves and I have experimented with other colors, I think that I will be very traditional today and just take some green colors. So I will be using the 76, which is light green, and also the 75, which is grass green, and the 74, which is deep grass green. So this is the darkest color, and this one, the grass green, is the middle color, and light green is the lightest color. Okay, so let's just choose a leaf. I think that we will take a leaf here. Oh, we have so many green leaves here. Well, I will just take this one. So let's take the lightest color first here, and I am just, laying down the color, and it's quite easy with these oil-based pencils to just lay down some color. I will admit that the pencils give a sort of a scratching sound, but they don't feel scratchy on this paper at all. It just makes a scratching noise when you color with them. That's a bit weird. But as I said, no harm done. Okay, that was a light color. So the 75 grass green. And you can also see here, I mean, the color of the barrel does not match this color, and the color of the lead doesn't match this color. So you cannot look at the lead itself and guess the color. You will have to swatch them, and always look at your swatch chart and the color number before you choose these colors, because this color is way darker than that color. So I have never experienced this so much to this degree, that the color that comes out of this lead is so much different than the color of the lead. I mean, this is really, really weird. But as you can see, still sounding scratchy, but lays down very nicely on the paper, just have to say. So the darkest, deep grass green. And I have to say that these three colors they really match. And I'm not pressing hard, I am just laying down a layer. And come on, I mean, just one layer and it looks really nice now. So if I take it up to the camera, you can clearly see, we can still see the white of the paper, but it does give, with a light pressure, a nice coverage of the paper. Yes, it sounds annoying, but it gets the job done. So now that we have a base layer, so let's see how many layers we have here. So this down here must be one layer. I don't know how, oh, I think we will take this one. So one layer. So I will just give it a second layer here. Here. I think I missed something there. I mean, come on. Look at this. One layer, two layers. It has a very nice coverage. I can hardly see any of the paper, but we will just give it a go yet. So the middle color, we just give this one also a second layer. Have to, you know, look to be sure that I'm using the right colors. That was the second layer, and they are certainly the same. Then I will add a third layer. This is a bit hard because oh, wait a minute. Here, the middle color was. We get some dust, and it feels a bit difficult to lay down the color. Because look here, the tooth of the paper was already really covered with the second layer, so the third adds a bit more brightness, but it's really difficult to lay the color down. It's like the tooth is almost saturated completely after two layers. 1, 2, 3. So I would have to say, if you have a very light pressure, 3 layers perhaps, but if you just have a normal pressure and 2 layers, that is more than enough for the paper in Johanna Bastard's book. I will have to say this is one of the pencil brands that really perform well on the paper in this book, and I have had a lot of different coloring pencil brands I have tried out on this paper, and for example the Castle Arts 120 next to it, and it took 7 or 8 layers and a lot of pressure to get that tooth covered. So a lot of the other well-known brands, they don't perform as well on this paper, like this cheap China Temu brand, Marie's. I used the chroma flows up here, and you can still see actually here some of the white of the paper, because it was difficult to cover the paper completely. But here, very nice. And also you can see, if I just take it up again, you can see how well the colors blend into each other. Really nice blend there. An almost effortless blend. Let's try it on another paper. Next test is Twilight Garden by Maria Trolle. And we have the test page here, and well, I'm almost done with it. So let's work here with this tulip. And again, don't judge the color by the color of the barrel. We have number 12 here, and number 12 is dark orange. So it is a darker orange. Here we have number 7. This is called dark golden. And then we have number 6, golden. And then we have 2 green colors. We have number 81, and 81 is called new green, and number 68 here, a bit darker, is just called green. So let's start here with putting this down on the paper. So we do have some pencil dust here, and quite a bit more, I think, than in the Johanna Basford book. This is also some paper which is really, really nice to work with wax-based pencils, and of course these are oil-based, so I am a little bit curious about how the oil-based pencils will work. Let's do the blending and layering up here with the tulip. So let's see. But it does come really nice down on the paper. It's still, well, I have to say, it really sounds scratchy. I don't think that I can find any paper where these pencils don't sound scratchy on. I mean, they're really noisy to use. I'm sure you can hear it too. That was the green. Let's try out the new green here. Nice bright color. Really nice. So you can see the first layer. I don't even have to bring it up to the camera. You can clearly see the white of the paper through. So we will have to layer them, I think, quite a bit more on this paper than in the Johanna Basford book. Okay, so if we take some of the other leaves here, let's try the green one here. So let's see how many layers it takes before the tooth of the paper is covered. We cannot see any more white. This is the first layer. You can clearly see we do have a lot left. So let's color it a second time. Can still see the white here, but it does give a very good coverage here. And a third layer. So the more you layer, the lesser pencil dust you'll get. And you can see now it's almost covered. Let's see if we can get a fourth layer on here. Doesn't take any more color. So 3 or 4 layers. Let's try down here. One, 2, and 3. Okay. So if this is 1, 2, and 3, so that was 1 layer. The second layer here, and immediately you can see a difference. So the first layer will not cover, but the second is quite nice. So first and second, and then let's add a third layer here, and you can see, well, I would have to say 3 layers in this book on this paper, because otherwise I am afraid it will be too much. So let's try and see how they blend here. Let's take it a bit down. Let's take it a bit down so you can see the tulip. Okay, we will begin with the dark orange on these leaves. And we will continue with the dark golden here. Can also see I'm trying to get the colors into each other, and here we have the golden. So we can clearly see the different colors here, or at least with the orange here. So let's try to add a bit more color and blend it using the coloring pencil method here, where we just layer with the coloring pencils. So you can see after 2 layers, it's difficult to see the transition between the 2 golden colors, of course, but we can still see, of course, there is a transition. But I have a feeling that if we sort of try to move the orange a bit up and the golden a bit down, it will help. Because now we have to be careful, because now we are at the 3rd layer, and as I said before, we have just found out that 3 layers is the right sort of layering here for this paper, because we will end up not being able to put any more color down on the paper. I don't know if this transition is extremely smooth if you compare it here to the Chroma Flow, but I do think it's quite nice considering that these are a bit more cheap pencils. I do want to experiment a little bit here, because as you can see with a larger leaf, I haven't really blended it yet. So I will just add a little bit more pigment here, and then I will use another method. Sometimes using a different blending medium can help when you use colored pencils compared to, you know, if they don't work that well on the paper. Sometimes it helps using a little help to do the blending. So we do have a little bit more color pigment down, and this is because when I blend, if I use a blender pencil or a paper stop to blend, then I would like some pigment to be on the page, because otherwise it will be, well, it will simply be too pale, and I don't want that. So I will just clean my pencil blender from Prismacolor, which is quite dirty. I've last used it for blending brown colors, I can see. Okay. Well. Okay. I think I will just sharpen it to make it easier. So you can see here I'm just blending out the colors. Instead of using the pencils, I'm just using the pencil blender. Hope you can still see it here. And this works really nicely. So if you make sure you have enough pigment on the paper, then it's actually quite easy to blend using the blender pencil. Perhaps it's even easier to use the blender pencil than to use the coloring pencil. Sometimes it can be difficult when you can't layer them that much. So take a look at this. The pencil blending with the coloring pencils themselves here, and the leaf or leaves here using the blender pencil. Hope you can see the difference. I would actually not hesitate using them on this paper. I think that they work really nicely, and actually better than the Bruin Seal, for example. They were okay, but I can see now if I compare that they did not cover the tooth of the paper nearly as well as the Chroma Flow, and here this Marie's oil-based pencils from China. So of course we will have to test the pencils in this Flower Weather Flower News book by Aikawa. The paper in these Japanese coloring books are meant for oil-based pencils, so of course we will have to test them here. And I have found 3 gorgeous violet colors here. We have number 38, which is lilac, 39 violet, and 40 blue violet. So let's begin with the darkest one, and let's take some of these small flowers down here. Oh, and this is just like when I tested the Light Fast, which are also oil-based pencils. I think that you can, the minute you put your pencils down here, you can just feel how the paper grasp around these pencils. And every time I begin coloring in this book on this paper, I have to admit I always forget that I have to test them, because I'm just, I mean, it's so wonderful to just begin working with pencils on this paper. So let's try the lilac here. And again, these pencils, you cannot judge the color, or you cannot judge them on the color of the barrel and then the color that comes out of these leads, because you can clearly see that the blue violet was the darkest one, and the violet, we will have to add another layer to just get some more color down. This was really light, a light violet compared to the color. I mean, this one looks really dark also with the lead, but in reality it's so light that you have to add some extra color and then just blend it out here with the lilac. And you can just see how these colors, they smush into each other when you do it here. Take a look at this. Absolutely wonderful. Really easy to blend them together. But let's be reasonable and look at some layering here. So let's look down here at this little flower. So we will just give it one layer. And here you can, well, can clearly see it's not enough to cover the paper. So let's try to give it another. So if this is one layer, this is 2. And you can clearly see the difference this made with 1 layer and 2 layers. And I will just give this one a 3rd layer. So I will just remove some of all of these things I have here, because I really want to feel this. So it looks like it's 3 layers it takes, but just to be sure, let's color this one. one layer for this entire flower. Okay, then we give 2 layers. So you can see a difference. Let's 1, 2. Let's give this one the 3rd layer, and also here. So 1, 2, and 3 layers. And you can see with the 3rd layer, I can try to give it a 4th here, but it's like it won't take any more color here. The paper is saturated now, so it looks like no matter what sort of coloring book paper I use for these Marie's oil-based pencils, 3 layers and it's enough. It's like no matter if it's paper meant for oil-based pencils or paper meant for wax-based pencils, or just smooth or coarse paper, 3 layers and then it's covered. So in that way, these Marie's oil-based coloring pencils are really easy to use because you can use them the same way on the different sorts of paper. And if you feel you want some help with a more coarser paper and not the smoother one here, then you can use a blender pencil to help if you want to, and you don't want to layer as much. Interesting. And finally, Seasons by Hannah Carlson. Let's go nuts and try a lot of different colors down here. So let's try this one. This one is number 77, and it is, I'm sorry, 077. It's the chartreuse, or what I call a chartreuse. I had thought about naming it chartreuse green, but, well, it's a very long name. And you can see on this paper here in Seasons, and this is a bit coarser than the paper we find in Twilight Garden. Still, and again, a nice coverage. So let's try with some background here, the 105 dark goldenrod. Oh, so this is not good. So what do? I will just take my eraser and erase it. I just move these pencils. And this is a thing about these Marie's oil-based coloring pencils here. They are erasable. They are marketed as erasable, and you can see here that we can, in fact, erase the color. I will just mark my line here, and then I will put it up to the camera. So erase is a big word, because I have experimented with these, and the darker the colors are, and I hope you noticed that I layered this quite lightly. So the darker the color is, the more difficult it is to erase it completely. But if you use a light color, then you can erase it completely. So on the back of this note, you can see I have tried to erase it. It was one of the red colors. I think it was a carmine red I tried here. And then I tried the light pink. And the light pink, if I take it up, I don't think you can hardly see it, because I did manage to erase that. I can see a little bit of strokes up here where I wasn't with the eraser. But you can see here that if I, and this is the one, if I next to it color, you can see a color difference here on the paper. And then I will just show you I will erase this, and you can see I can erase it to a degree, but the strong pigmented darker colors, you cannot erase it completely. So erasable, well, that depends on the color, and this is because these pencils are so pigmented, it is actually quite difficult to remove the color completely. But if you try lightly, like I did, you can see down here, I managed to get most of the color off and make a beautiful line down here. So that's certainly a new thing. I've never heard of a coloring pencil that was erasable. Let's just put some color down here. So now you're thinking, isn't she going to show us the layers here? Oh, yes, I am. So let's take one of the clearer blue colors, 58, and that is the phthalo blue. So let's just give it one layer up here. And we can clearly see the paper. So let me give this one a second layer. And now you can clearly see the difference between the first and the second layer. So let me try to give it a third layer next to here. You can see a difference, but I don't think the difference is all that. And I have to admit, it was a bit difficult getting the color down. So I would have to say, and this is very typical of this coarse paper in Hannah Carlson books, 2 layers, that's enough. And if you press hard, like I do right now, 1 layer is more than enough. This one we have seen in action before. This is the 038, the lilac. And let's mix it here with this phthalo blue. And you can see it's very, very easy to get some color down. And layer a little bit on top. These coloring pencils are so much fun that I'm actually quite forgetting that this is a review. This is just so much fun to color with these. This one is the 059, and this is a sky blue. So let's get a little bit of some sky blue color down here. So we can make a glass effect later. And then to top it off with this 018, which is, oh, not the carmine red, but the pink carmine. You can just see how easy it is to get the color down on this paper here. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. Absolutely wonderful pencils to work with. So what can we conclude about these cheap coloring pencils that my husband bought for me from Temu? Well, I will just have to say the pros are certainly exactly it. First and foremost, the price. They are cheap compared to some of the very expensive brands. I have tried to look it up. I couldn't find them on Temu. And a lot of the other places where they sell Maries, they are currently unavailable. But I did manage to find them one place on AliExpress.com. The normal price is $72.75, or $72.75. Now they have a sale, so right now they are off with 45%, which is $40. But I just have to say, buy them on eBay, because on eBay they are only $30. Or rather $29.90. So I would actually, if I had to buy them again, I would buy them from eBay, because they are a lot cheaper on eBay. And to compare with like a very well-known and quality brand of oil-based pencils like the Faber-Castell Polychromas, they are, I found one set on the eBay which was new and not used, $237.50. So they are really that much more expensive. And I just have to say, you do get a lot of your money's worth if just using $30 on these on eBay, because the colors are very bright if we continue with the pros. Very good pigmentation in the colors. They are easy to layer. They are easy to blend. And what is striking is that they have a similar behavior on different types of paper. Now, some of the other coloring pencils I have reviewed, and if you haven't seen them, go into my playlist reviews and watch those. Like, for example, the Castle Art pencils. They behave extremely different compared to the paper that I have used them on. So on some paper, they are more easy to use than others. But there is a huge difference with a lot of the well-known brands. I have also tested, Black Widows and Eversar, Derwent Chromaflows and Derwent Lightfast, to name a few of the more recent reviews I have made. And a lot of these coloring pencils behave differently compared to the paper, if it's smooth or coarse. But these, they just have the same behavior no matter what paper I throw at them. If it's smooth or if it's coarse or really coarse, if there is tooth or hardly any tooth in it. You could see throughout my tests on the different sorts of paper, including paper designed for oil-based pencils, that 3 layers is more than enough. And usually, the 2 layers, if you're not critical, they are actually sufficient to cover the paper in a nice way and give a good coverage of the paper with the colors here. They are also very nice to hold. You know, some pencils are very slim, like the Derwent Chromaflow. I find that they are too thin for me and my taste. I like a more sturdy pencil, and I think that these are very nice to hold. Quite like the Polychromas, actually. I also enjoy holding them. And again, they are easy to sharpen. Granted, I had that one pencil, the Pink Carmine, which just kept breaking, but I do think that that pencil had some issues, and not the whole set here of 120 pencils. Now, aren't there some cons? Yeah, there are some cons. As I said, they are not completely erasable. The more pigmentation you have in the color and the darker the color is, the more difficult it is, of course, to erase it, even if you just have added a light layer on the paper. They are dusty. And I think that they are dusty not only on my cheap printing paper, but also in several of the coloring books that I tested them on. And that's a thing I haven't seen with a lot of the more quality brands. They don't dust usually on good paper in coloring books. And then I think that the thing that annoys me perhaps the most is the sound that they come with when I use them, because they do sound extremely scratchy, but they are not scratchy on the paper. It just sounds like they are scratchy. So I will have to conclude that if you are newer to coloring and you want to try oil-based coloring pencils, I would not hesitate recommending these from Maries, because you get a lot of worth for your money here. I know that when people, and especially beginners, ask in different coloring groups on Facebook, what pencils do you recommend? Most people, I think about 80 to 90% of the people, immediately answer Prismacolors. And if they don't answer Prismacolors, they answer polychromers. And those are very good brands. We all know that, but for a new beginner who's just new to coloring, it does take a lot of time and effort to get to know these pencils, and they are very expensive. And some people can't get used to, either of these brands. So instead of using a lot of money on these expensive brands, if you want to try some cheap oil-based coloring pencils, I think really that you get all what you have bargained for with these Maria's coloring pencils here from China. They are just the best budget brand of oil-based pencils on the market right now. Thank you so much for watching this review of the Maria's oil-based colored pencils from China. I hope that you enjoyed this review and that you got a lot out of it, and perhaps it helped you decide whether or not you would like to invest in these coloring pencils. Anyway, I hope that you will like this video. Please give it a thumbs up. It really does help my channel. And if you're new here and you just happen to stumble upon this video, consider subscribing to my channel. Go out and check out the playlists on my channel. And perhaps especially if you're interested in reviews, my playlist reviews. There are a lot of good reviews there. And just a little disclaimer, I am not bought by any company. I have invested in these coloring pencils I have reviewed myself, or they have been gifts to me from my family. And I have made reviews because I do like to test reviews and get this knowledge out to people in the coloring community. So you can trust that my reviews are not bought by any company. I just give you my honest opinion and my own opinion about pencils when I have tested them. Upcoming videos, of course, more episodes in my new series Tips and Tricks for Beginner Colorists, and also, since I have now reviewed quite a few new coloring pencil brands on the channel, more colored pencil comparisons here during spring. So stay tuned on my channel for more great content to come. I hope that you will have a very happy Easter. Until I see you in the next video, have a lovely day and a wonderful Easter. Take care of yourself. Happy coloring. Bye.